Hello and welcome. This video is brought to you by Mike at Swamp Fox. Mike had seen my original review of the Arrowhead 1 to 10 that I did a couple of months ago, liked it so much, he reached out to me and said, I would love to send you an optic for review. It just so happened the optic he wanted to send me was the optic that I was the most interested in from their lineup, which is this, the Kentucky Long in 2 to 12 by 44, featuring the RECCE reticle that you see here. This is a first focal plane MPVO and features some really nice stuff. Definitely things that are interesting for the price point that this thing comes at, which is around like the mid to low 500s, but you can find these on sale for the low to mid 400s, and if you're LEO or military, you could find these things for high 3s, low 4s, which is pretty damn impressive, I think, and I think you're going to think the exact same way at the end of this video. Anyway, what do we have? First, the RECCE reticle is bespoke, I believe, to the Kentucky Long, this being the 2 to 12. It's fantastic. I like a lot about it. I've really grown accustomed to enjoying tree reticles like this, and I particularly love center dots. The illumination on full sort of disappears, and the reason for that is it's really, really bright. As bright as some LPVOs, let alone MPVOs or HPVOs. It's ridiculously bright. I don't really have any sort of specs on how long the battery will last at full brightness, but as you can see here, it is frankly beautiful, and more on that as this video progresses. So the turrets in the lock are a little mushy. The Arrowhead was better, but at least the click is very audible and the hash marks line up very well.
Illumination on full is very bright, probably the brightest I've seen for an MPVO like this. And most of that is usable. That's at 3, 2, 1, 0 full. Very good illumination. I like how it illuminates the reticle. I think it's more than practical and usable. As far as how the reticle lines up, as you can see, it is extremely good. Here at our 41-yard target, this thing is basically perfect. We're going to start with a little step drill to the left and down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. 1, 2. Five and 5, we are lined up extremely well. Good amount of resistance. They sound really good. We're lined up. Looks to be pretty damn good. We're like dancing on either side of this line. So I'm trying to get it just as close as I can, but that's where we were. Let's continue down. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. That looks to be pretty good. Put it back to 0. Good. And that is 10. Fantastic.
So far, this thing seems to be too good to be true, but unfortunately there is an issue, and it's one thing that I can't just ignore. This has 6 full mils of rotation with 10 clicks per, so we have 60 total possible clicks per rotation. The splines on the erector, well, there's only 30 of those. So what that means is you can only line up every other line on the turret to the indicator. As you can see, it only will index every other line. If I go in between like that, I'm pushing down and twisting until it will rock over and then lock as you see it. Apparently this is a problem also with the Arrowhead. When I had done my tracking test for that, I did not have the issue. And when it lined up perfectly, and I didn't realize. But Mike himself said, this is a known thing that they've had with most of their optics, but the new generation of stuff that they're coming out with very soon is going to rectify all this. And you know what? He even told me he recently had a problem with, zeroing an optic on the range. He had it perfect, and it was doing this exact same thing. So what does this mean ultimately? It means that if there's a 50-50 chance, literally, that it's not going to line up perfectly on zero. And it's both for the elevation and the windage. So it's something to keep in mind. Is it an ultimate deal breaker? Probably not, but it's real annoyance. And with my OCD, it's something that it can't be ignored, and it would be a disservice to you, viewer out there, that might be willing to purchase this, to not educate you on it. If you're thinking this is an ultimate deal breaker for you right now, give it a little time, finish this video, and see how the rest of it performs, because I'll tell you, it's pretty impressive. Before we get into ultimate image quality and resolution at different distances and different environments, blah, 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 let me show to most of you out there that, you don't need a 1x or even a 0x to be able to engage, targets like this, full-size IPSCs, at different distances. The farthest one on the back wall is about 50 yards from where we currently are. The closest one's about 25 to 30. And yeah, I have this on a tripod, and it's a little awkward for me to try to do everything all at once, but it's still very quick and easy for me to get on target. The illumination, as you saw there on full, is insanely bright, and albeit a slightly darker environment, but I really like the German post at 3, 6, and 9. But again, I don't know what's with these manufacturers that just don't extend them full length. It costs you probably nothing and would only make everything so much better. But I'm going to not get lost in that tangent right now. Just know that if you are worried about being able to use this inside of a fairly close distance like this, don't worry, it's fantastic.
Pew! 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 Pew!
And with that, let's finally start getting into probably the best thing about this, and it's the glass. It's a Chinese-made optic. That's going to be a turnoff for some of you, but what can you expect for the price point that this thing comes at? You're not going to get much more than this. Yes, you can buy some Filipino optics, the GLX series, the PST Gen 2 series. They are out there, and they are good, but typically they're going to be more expensive. Illumination here on full is daytime noticeable. It's not fully daytime bright. That's still in the realm for red dots and high-end LPVOs, basically only. But as far as other MPVOs and HPVOs, this is still probably the brightest, and it's more than sufficient to give you enough contrast between the reticle and a darker target or a darker environment to really make it pop. I really wish that posts at 3, 6, and 9 were a little bit larger, but c'est la vie. Focusing our attention here on the 30-yard power transformer, the image isn't perfect, but guess what? This thing has a side focus, so we can make it perfect. So we're going to do exactly that. And while I futz around with the side focus, let me tell you about their warranty. They don't have an unlimited or a lifetime or a full life guarantee warranty. Instead, what they have is a 50,000 round warranty. And Swamp Fox did this intentionally because if you really think about it, 50,000 rounds is a lot. And it's just there to put it in perspective of like what they're going to rate this thing for. Whether that's 50,000 rounds of 22 LR versus 308 on a SCAR, who really knows? But just know that it's basically a lifetime warranty. Focusing on the top of the pole here at 30 yards, that is such a beautiful, sharp, and clear image. And here, at least, we don't really have that much chromatic aberration. What does chromatic aberration look like? It's a little bit of a purple tint at a high contrast area. For example, that parapet wall, which is white, and the top of that window frame will eventually trip up some sort of optics. But so far, not here. Oh no, the image is blurry. Oh wait, we have a side focus, aka Credo 2 to 10. Why don't you have a side focus? Trigicon, what's wrong with you? Anyway, I digress. Here we are with a beautiful, beautiful image. And it's not just at the 400-yard brick building, it's at the 250-ish tree line right there. You do see a touch of chromatic aberration at the shadow line on the windows, but it's so minimal that you never even really notice it. And yes, if any of you are wondering, the side focus knob, the distances on there line up with where we're focused at right now, very, very close. I would say within 90%. This is about 360 meters, and it was right around 350. And it was that consistent through basically every single range that I focused this thing too. So very, very good on that. Here at 800 yards, we pick up a little bit more chromatic aberration on those power lines at the front, but again, it's really not a deal breaker whatsoever. I've looked at optics that are 3 to 4 times the price of this, and they just have purple fringing everywhere. On this, it's more than acceptable given its price point, and its clarity here at 800 yards is absolutely no slouch. And one of the big reasons for that is this is only a 6x magnifier on this thing. A 2 to 12 is only a 6x. We have too many optics out now that are trying to stretch 8, 10, and above. Stuff like the Antibel 1 to 12, which they're sort of say as a hybrid, it's a 1 to 12. And it's just the thought of it's like, Jesus Christ, it's just too much. How good could that really be, all things considered? But we won't have to question that for too long, because I might be getting one for review. Anyway, on to our longest distance of the entire video, about 1,000 yards here. And at 0 mils of added elevation, we have a beautiful image. But you're not going to be shooting this thing completely flat out to 1,000. You might use it as a spotting scope out to that distance, in which case you know you have a beautiful image. But we're going to crank in 10 mils of added elevation, readjust and reacquire, and see if there's much of a difference. Well, to my eye right now, there doesn't really seem to be any difference whatsoever. But again, we don't have this thing as a side-by-side. What the hell am I talking about? I'm editing this thing. I can do whatever the hell I want. Here we are on which side is which. I'll let you guess, or I'll let you think about it for a second. All right, well, the one on the left is 0, the one on the right is plus 10. And is there really a noticeable difference? I can't see one. That's a better performance than most, again, high-dollar optics. Absolutely superb. Now, how does this thing take in ambient light in a darker environment? We already saw that during bright sunny days, it's beautiful. Here, you can see it's a little bit darker, perhaps, at the top part of the sky through the scope as opposed to what we're seeing outside the scope, but it's really negligible. As we run it very slowly through the magnification range, there's a difference, but it's, again, really hard to pick up. The biggest thing with any sort of optic, whether it be an LPVO, MPVO, HPVO, is as you go higher in the magnification range, you really start to stretch it out a little bit more. You're letting less light in, and thus your exit pupil is going to be a little bit harder to get by. It's going to be a little more restricted. And as a result of that, yeah, it's letting in decent light right now, but we have an absolutely 100% perfect eye box. If you were to get behind this thing, it would be a little bit trickier to get through it 100%. But guess what? This being a first focal plane, back out the magnification a little bit and look through it a lot easier. Anywho, on to my home away from home. We're not going to be here that long because honestly, there's not much else to really go over except for looking at some shot targets here at 50 yards. The illumination is on full. It is a pretty bright day, but slightly overcast. And the illumination is still fantastic. I love this RECCE reticle. The center dot is perfect. Everything is very legible, easy to read and pick up very quickly. And as far as picking up small 22 LR holes in the top left above the S, you can do it with this thing easily. Very easy to spot your own holes here at 50 yards with it. It's gorgeous. As far as the eye box, at 2x, it's on par with what I would say some of the best LPVOs are at 2x. And that's saying something, because some of them are really, really forgiving. This is no exception. Getting behind this thing in an awkward position or really fast or you name it, an adverse environment is superb. We bump it up to 6x, and again, it's on par with some of the best LPVOs, which is supremely nice. The illumination only stays visible while you're looking through it, but that's just the case with any sort of first focal plane optic, no matter what the magnification. Here at 12x, we're going to have a slightly tight eye box, but again, that's going to be any optic at any magnification that's at its maximum. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a perfect performance. For any of you that say that my videos are too long and, boring, I apologize, but I guess my channel isn't for you. You can go watch a shittier channel from someone just shooting it and saying it's okay. I want to give you as much information to see it and really experience it to the best of your ability without actually having it in front of you. Anyway, here we are at large bore, where we're going to get into my final thoughts and a little bit more comparisons. Here, 12x, 100 yards, beautiful, clear image, as opposed to the Credo on the right, which actually, the Credo, this is the new one that I had gotten from Trijicon after the first one was bad. But this is a perfect comparison between I'll call it about a $400 optic and about a $1,000 optic. Yeah, they're both good in their own right, but can you really distinguish one from the other if you were just to look through these at a blind test? I bet it would be a little hard to pick up. The Credo, this version in particular, is a lot better than what it was before, but it's still not as good as this Swamp Fox, primarily because of the side focus. Yes, the Trijicon can look extremely good, especially under 8x, but I think the Swamp Fox absolutely gives it a run for its money. But how about a Swamp Fox versus a Swamp Fox? On the right, we have the 1-10 Arrowhead. Granted, it was a very dark day when I filmed that. It was just consequences of the situation, but it was the best that I can give you. The illumination on the green is piss poor by comparison to the red on this Kentucky Long. The Arrowhead I praised for its image quality, from basically up close and personal to all the way out to what I could possibly view it through, and it was fantastic. But again, as good as that was, and still is in my opinion, the Kentucky Long, again, because the ability to focus the image to perfection is just better. But I do prefer the turrets on the Arrowhead over the Kentucky Long here. They just have a little bit better click and a little bit less play. So I guess just take that for what it's worth and find the best optic for you, which is coincidentally what I'm trying to help you with on this channel. But here at 190 yards or so on the berm, we just have this beautiful image. There's so much detail, there's so much information. The reticle is just fantastic. The view through it is great. Yes, during the iBox test, you could have seen a little less scope body at 2x. There's a bit of a shift, but it's so minimal that it doesn't even warrant mentioning. 200 yards on paper. Are you going to be able to spot your holes? Probably not. Definitely need a spotter scope, but it's still excellent. At 300 yards, again, we have the Kentucky Long on the left and the Credo 2-10 on the right. This is the only real MPVO I have good side-by-side footage of to illustrate here. But again, absolutely flawless out of this Kentucky Long. I wasn't going to give this thing a good review just for the sake of giving it a good review and having Mike at Swamp Fox and Swamp Fox themselves like me. But this thing is fantastic. It has its problems. Yes, the turrets not being able to line up properly, that's a problem. But you know about the problem. I know about the problem. Would I spend $400 on this? Honestly, I would, because it gives me everything I want. It comes with every feature you could possibly imagine for a really good price, great warranty, and so far the company's been absolutely perfect to deal with, and I can't wait to hopefully continue my relationship with them. And if they give me something that's shit, I'm going to let you know that it's shit. And if that's going to ultimately hurt the relationship, then I'd be upset about that. But I can't lie to you guys, because I wouldn't want to be lied to myself. This is a truly excellent optic, and honestly one of the best MPVOs, if not the best MPVO I've got my hands on so far. A huge thank you to Mike from Swamp Fox. Thank you so much for sending this in for review and giving me the trust that you felt I deserved with your product. Thank you so much. And you guys can expect to see a lot more from this MPVO, because it's going to be what I'm going to use to compare every other MPVO to. And with that, thank you all very much for watching. As always, I'll see you again next time. And a huge thank you to my Patreon providers. Without you, this truly wouldn't be possible. If you'd like to help support the channel but don't want to join my Patreon, I completely understand. But you can help by using the affiliate links in the description below. Thanks again for watching.